Hello and welcome to Freya's Tropical Garden. It's the end of August now and autumn will soon be upon us. But here's what we've got coming up for you on today's episode. I take a trip to Sky Garden in London. I talk about 21 palm trees that can be grown outside in the UK. And there's a new competition to win some plants from my garden. But first, here's what's been happening in my garden since the last episode. Over the course of this year, it's been very disheartening digging up my garden and preparing to move. But now the digging has halted, as it may be that I'm still going to remain here for another 2 years. If this does prove to be the case, then I won't be replanting palm trees and plants that would have suffered stress from being dug up. Instead, I'll prepare the beds and put in plants like cannas that will be able to be dug up quite easily. There are, of course, several plants still in the ground, and the Musabasjus are producing plenty of pups at the moment, and these are emerging quite prolifically in the places where I've dug up big bananas. And I'm continuing to get various plants emerging from the soil after I've dug them up, including this arum lily, the Hedychium ginger, and the Melianthus major. More voodoo lilies keep emerging. And the oxalis keeps popping up and flowering. The plants that are emerging in the areas I'll be putting back to grass will be dug up and sold. And those growing in the flower beds I will keep and allow to grow in place. In the last episode I showed you how my Paulownia has been growing, and it's getting even bigger now with these lovely large leaves. However, in the area where I was growing my Paulownia, behind this bamboo, I've now discovered another Paulownia growing, which has clearly managed to take from the roots that were left behind. So I will be leaving this in place to give it a chance to get bigger and stronger. The plants that I moved into my new temporary pond in the last episode are doing really well in its new environment. And I've created my new fernery in a trough, to which I've added plenty of sphagnum moss into the compost to make sure that it remains nice and damp for them. And I've created another trough for my hostas and farfugium. As well as making quite a nice display, I've mostly done this because I was a little bit worried that they dry out too quickly in small pots. You may remember at the beginning of the year I had germinated some mimosa seeds. This one's Mimosa pudica, which is touch sensitive, and as you can see the leaves here close up after they've been touched. My Acacia baeliana has been a bit slow growing, but is starting to put out some new shoots again now. And my Jacaranda mimosafolia is growing really well at the moment. Since I'm not growing my colocasias in the ground this year, I have put them in a tray of water. Colocasias need plenty of water during the summer months and are one of the few plants that are happy standing in water. However, this isn't the case in the colder months. But as you can see here, the roots on these colocasias are really responding well to the water. The leaves on my albizia are starting to turn reddish colour, and this is likely to be a combination of the stress of being dug up and the weather we've had, perhaps initiating an early autumn. In the last episode I showed you some of my voodoo lilies. These ones are now growing again really nicely. And the leaves have now fully emerged on my Amorphophallus bulbifer, although it's not looking so good after I found it having fallen off the table. Unfortunately, this is the downside of keeping plants in pots, especially on windy days. And a new addition to my garden this week is this Bougainvillea, which I found on a market stall just outside Chorham train station. This is my first time growing this plant, and I gather they can be a bit fussy if you haven't got a conservatory over winter. Several of my cannas are now flowering well, including this Canna Cleopatra, which is one of the few cannas still left in the ground, along with the pink canna which I had planted by my pond. And in the pots, the red canna's now starting to flower, as is this beautiful yellow variety that was often hidden by other plants last year. My Dahlia Twining Smarty is still continuing to flower. This variety has definitely been one of my most reliably flowering dahlias, and it tends to flower earlier than the other varieties that I've got and produces more flowers throughout the year. But this Cafe au Lait is a new variety for me this year, which is just starting to open, so I can't wait to see that. And my oleander is starting to flower as well. I have two varieties of oleander. One has a darker pink flower, but I really love these delicate peachy coloured flowers. My Crocosmia is more or less finished flowering now. This orange variety was a bit later to flower than the others, and this was a self-seeded variety. And my Lobelia Queen Victoria is also flowering, although not quite as well as it would have done if it hadn't been dug up. My Abutilon Hot Orange Lava is continuing to produce these beautiful, delicate bell-shaped flowers. And of course my Begonia Santa Cruz is reliably flowering throughout the warmer months. My Nephophia or red hot pokers are producing the odd flower here and there. Although again, after being dug up, they're not producing as many flowers as they would have done this year. My Gladioli are also not producing that many flowers in pots. However, there are a few beautiful flowers coming out. And my Court Layered Ginger has produced another flower, although again, it is not flowering as well as it did last year. This could either be due to being dug up or possibly even due to the weather, as it hasn't been a great summer on the whole. Coming up first, we've got a competition. Now it's competition time, and this time I'm going to be giving one of my viewers a chance to win 5 plants from my garden. As usual, this competition is only open to UK viewers due to international laws on postage. And entry into the competition is free. Please make sure that you're subscribed to this channel and also click like on the video. And the results will be drawn in the next episode of Freya's Tropical Garden. To enter, you can leave your comments on this video or on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram. And just confirm that you live in the UK. Let me know what you enjoy most about my videos. And let me know where you think I could improve or a particular subject you'd like to see me do a video on in future. Entry closes on the 21st of September, so best of luck to everybody. Next up, we take a trip to Sky Garden in London. An unlikely location to visit a tropical garden is Sky Garden in central London, located at the top of a skyscraper, commonly known as the Walkie-Talkie. Sky Garden is London's highest public garden. Entrance is free, although you may have to book your tickets in advance to avoid disappointment. There are restaurants and bars for those seeking refreshments, which enjoy superb views of the city, or simply come to enjoy the garden and take some stunning panoramic photos of the surroundings. The designers of Sky Garden have chosen several drought-tolerant species from the Mediterranean, South Africa and Asia, as well as several Australian tree ferns. Plants were specifically chosen for their ability to thrive, for the quality of light that's available in this unique environment. Although the overall garden space is relatively small, for a free attraction, it's definitely worth visiting. So let's take a look at some of the plants you can see here. Dimorphotheca Pluvialis is commonly known as the rain daisy and is native to South Africa and Namibia. It's an upright annual growing to around 40 centimetres in height, with daisy-like flowers in summer to early autumn. It prefers full sun and a sheltered spot. Epiprenum aureum is also known as the golden pothos and is native to French Polynesia. It's a climbing vine which uses aerial roots to adhere to surfaces and is commonly grown in the UK as a houseplant. They're easy to care for but do not like too much water, so make sure the soil is dry before watering again. Vulcano ricurvata, or the ponytail palm, is native to Mexico, although it's not a species of palm tree as the common name suggests. They grow on rocky soils deficient in nutrients and on cliffs and steep mountains. Therefore, too much water is the most frequent mistake made when growing this as a houseplant. Chlorophytum comosum is commonly known as the spider plant due to the spidery offsets it produces. It's native to South Africa and is commonly grown as a houseplant in the UK. It is, however, sensitive to fluoride in tap water, which gives it burnt tips, although leaves can also be scorched by direct sunlight or dry air. Cycas circinalis is also known as the queen sago and is native to southern India. It's a slow-growing cycad which can grow up to 3.5 metres tall. It prefers full sun and sandy soil, but would need to be brought indoors over winter. Begonia maculata, or the polka dot begonia, is native to Brazilian rainforests. It's commonly grown as a houseplant, but prefers warmth, humidity, and indirect sunlight in order to thrive. Avoid misting leaves directly and keep away from drafts and radiators. Cymbidium devonianum is a variety of orchid native to Nepal and China, which bears olive brown to yellow-green flowers from spring to summer. It prefers partial shade and a sheltered spot, and can be grown outside in the UK during the summer months. Dioon spinulosum is also known as the giant dioon, and is native to Mexico. It's one of the tallest cycads in the world, growing to 12 metres in height, and grows in soil with few nutrients, soils rich in limestone, and on slopes. It's hardy down to -2 degrees, so will need extra protection over winter. Sertonium falcatum is a species of fern commonly known as the Japanese holly fern, and is native to East Asia. It grows from crevices in coastal cliffs and rocky slopes, but will do well in most soil types, and in full or partial shade. It's hardy in warmer areas of the UK. Tradescantia zebrana is a creeping plant commonly known as the silver inch plant. It's native to Mexico and Colombia, as well as the Caribbean islands. It's commonly grown as a houseplant in the UK, where it prefers bright, indirect sun and regular watering to make sure the soil is always moist. Atherium niponicum is commonly known as the Japanese painted fern and is native to Eastern Asia. It's a striking, deciduous fern which grows best in acidic to neutral soil in partial or full shade. It's hardy throughout most of the UK. Cyathea Cooperi is also known as the scaly tree fern, and Cyathea Medularis is known as the black tree fern. Both are native to Australia, with long, arching, elegant fronds. They prefer partial shade and may be hardy in warmer areas of the UK. However, even then will likely need additional winter protection. Caryotomitis is known as the Burmese fishtail palm and is native to tropical Asia. The nickname comes from the unusual shape of the leaves, making this a distinctive palm. It grows best in shade or partial shade outdoors in summer, and is an easy-to-care-for houseplant in winter. Rapis excelsa is also known as the broadleaf lady palm, and is native to southern China. It's a versatile, slow-growing palm that adapts very well to being grown indoors in pots. It can tolerate low light and should be watered when the top 2 inches of soil are dry to the touch. Howea forsteriana is commonly known as the Kentia palm and is endemic to Australia. It's a beautiful and air-purifying houseplant which is low maintenance, happy in most light conditions, and only requiring water when the top 2 inches of soil are dry. Arachneodes simplicia, or the East Indian holly fern, is a striking plant native to Asia. It's an evergreen fern with thick glossy fronds, which can grow in moist soils, in shade or in part shade, and is hardy in warmer areas of the UK. Strelitzia reginae is commonly known as the bird of paradise due to its distinctive orange flowers, and is native to South Africa. It grows best in full sun or part shade and prefers to be root-bound in a pot to encourage flowering, ideally by overwintering in a bright conservatory. Cycas revoluta, or the sago palm, is a cycad native to southern Japan. It's a slow-growing plant which can survive temperatures down to -7 degrees if kept dry, and with warmer day temperatures. But it also grows well in a pot, which can be brought inside. Agave attenuata is commonly known as the foxtail agave and is native to Mexico. It has pale green leaves on top of a thick stem and can grow to 1.5 metres tall. It prefers full sun, but must be brought indoors during the colder months. Washintonia Robusta is a succulent native to Mexico. It's a stemless plant with long linear leaves and a flower spike reaching to nearly 2 metres tall. The flowers will provide nectar and pollen for bees and other pollinating insects. It prefers full sun and is hardy in milder areas of the UK. In cooler areas of the UK, this plant can be grown in a pot and brought indoors. Rhopalostylis Sapida is commonly known as the Nicau palm and is endemic to New Zealand. It's a slow-growing palm with long feather-like leaves and can grow up to 12 metres tall. It prefers partial shade and can tolerate low temperatures, but would be killed by frosts. Clivia nobilis, or the green-tipped forest lily, is a flowering plant native to South Africa. Outside in summer, they prefer full sun or partial shade, but as houseplants they like indirect light and regular watering, with a cool, dry spell in winter to initiate flowering. Clivia sertanthiflora is a hybrid clivia which can flower in nearly any month of the year, but primarily autumn to spring. It grows best in shaded areas and will again need protection from frosts over winter. Geranium madurense is also known as the giant herb Robert and is native to Madeira. It can grow 1.5 meters tall, bearing spectacular pink flowers. It's hardy in milder areas of the UK and grows well in full sun, partial shade or full shade. Coming up next, I've got 21 palm trees that can be grown in the UK. Although I'll be talking about 21 different palm species or subspecies in this video, I have decided to group them by genus into a top 10 in order to avoid repeating similar characteristics. I've tried to order them from the least hardy to the most, although there can be some variation in hardiness, even amongst plants of the same species. For example, I had 3 Washintonia Robusta that had grown so close together they looked like the same plant. However, only one of them survived a brief dip to -6. Other factors can include how wet the winter is or how much sun they get in the summer, so the minimum temperature provided in this video is only a guide. At number 10 are the Washintonia Robusta and Filifera. Washintonia Robusta, or the Mexican fan palm, is recommended to be able to survive temperatures down to -5 degrees C, so you're unlikely to see mature plants anywhere but the warmest areas of the UK. Ventnor Botanical Gardens on the Isle of Wight have several mature Washintonia Robusta, but most are unlikely to survive more than a few winters in the warmer areas of the UK. Washintonia Filifera, or the California fan palm, is somewhat more cold tolerant due to its thicker trunk and is more tolerant of occasional frosts. Even if growing in warmer areas of the UK, it's still advisable to wrap with fleece, particularly to protect the crown over winter, and younger plants will be more at risk. Washintonia Filifera is also more drought tolerant than the Robusta, the latter needing consistent watering throughout the summer months. Washintonia Robusta is faster growing than Filifera, however both palms grow comparatively rapidly. They also grow very easily from seed, so if you do live in milder areas of the UK, it can be inexpensive to maintain at least a moderate-sized palm for a few years if we have a run of mild winters. Both Washintonia Robusta and Filifera can be quite happy growing indoors in pots if given large enough pots and regular feeds, which may be ideal if you're looking to bring them in for winter until they're better established. At number 9 is Phoenix Canariensis, or the Canary Island date palm. Mature specimens are quite common in warmer areas of the UK, with a recommended minimum temperature of -8°C. Younger palms, however, will need a lot more protection and will frequently be killed by more severe frosts or temperatures of around -5°C, so are best brought indoors for winter. You can also tie fronds up in a bundle to provide some winter protection from cold, wet and snow, adding straw into the crown and ideally then wrap with fleece. Once mature, Canary Island date palms will flourish in warmer areas of the UK and in rare cases further north. For example, there is a mature tree in Leeds, although Phoenix Canariensis would not normally be expected to survive outdoors here, and there may be other factors contributing to its success. At number 8 is Brahea Armata, or the Mexican blue palm, and Brahea Edulis. Brahea Armata is a spectacular palm with silvery blue foliage, while Edulis leaves are more green, and both are reportedly hardy down to -8 to 10 degrees, although they should only be exposed to these temperatures for a short time, and ideally only if the day temperatures are above freezing. Therefore, it's advisable that the crowns of these palms are also protected during winter with straw and fleece, and ideally planted in a sheltered sunny spot. Both varieties are slower growing palms, although deep irrigation can help to promote faster growth, which is a technique of providing water deeper underground to encourage the roots to grow down, and this helps establish better drought tolerance. At number 7 are Butia Capitata, Odorata, and Eriospatha, known as the jelly palms. Butia Odorata was considered a subspecies of Butia Capitata, although more recent studies suggest it is a separate species. Both have beautiful grey-green feather-like leaves and are hardy down to approximately -10 to -12°C, although again, providing protection to the crown over winter is advisable. There are even reports of mature trees surviving -15. They do dislike cold, wet soils, however, so good drainage is essential, preferably sandy soil. In coastal areas, they should also be given protection from strong winds. They are drought tolerant but will grow faster with regular watering and feed. Butia Eriospatha is known as the woolly jelly palm and has slightly greener leaves and brown woolly covering over its flower spike. It's a faster growing palm than the jelly palms and can survive winter in most of the UK, particularly if given protection from the harshest conditions. However, it is fussier than other butias and does not like competing with grass, needs very good drainage, and is very fussy about its soil requirements. It prefers to grow in full sun, although will tolerate dappled shade. At number 6 is the Sabal Minor, or the dwarf palmetto, which has fan-shaped leaves and a trunk which largely grows underground, protecting its more vital parts from the cold and frosts, and giving it the appearance that the leaves are emerging from underground. It can be grown in most of the UK, surviving temperatures down to -14°C, possibly lower. It's slow growing and prefers plenty of moisture, growing naturally in swampy conditions. Ideally, it prefers hot, humid summers in order to grow well, and therefore may be better grown in a humid greenhouse or conservatory for the first few years while it establishes. And the lack of warm summers is likely to be the main inhibitor to growing this palm in the UK, particularly in colder areas. At number 5 is Trithrinax Campestris, or the Argentinian blue palm. Reportedly able to tolerate temperatures of at least -12°C, it's still very rare in the UK. It's a slow-growing palm and both leaves and trunk can be vicious due to the sharp spikes at the end of its leaf tips. Therefore, it's best planted away from pathways. It needs a sunny position with very good drainage, as it will not tolerate being waterlogged, but it can withstand strong winds. And number 4 is the Chamaerops Humilis and its subspecies Argentea, also known as Filifera, and Vulcano. Chamaerops are clump-forming palms known as the European fan palm, with green fan-shaped leaves or silvery blue in the case of Argentea. They're hardy in most of the UK, surviving temperatures at least down to -12 degrees C, and are very versatile, surviving in strong winds and poor stony soils. They can also be grown in pots due to the compact nature, particularly of the Vulcano variety, which is smaller with stiffer leaves. And number 3 is Jubea Chilensis, or the Chilean wine palm. This palm is one of the hardiest palms in the UK and can survive temperatures down to around -15 degrees C. However, it's still relatively unusual in the UK due to its very slow growth, and therefore the price of this palm will often put prospective buyers off. It looks similar in appearance to Phoenix Canariensis, but does not have the large thorns at the leaf base. It grows well in most types of soil and prefers full sun and a sheltered position. At number 2 are the Trachycarpus species. Although there are several species and new hybrids being bred, I have focused on some of the more common ones: Fortunei, Wagnerianus, Princeps, Naggy, Ukhrulensis, and Latisectus. Trachycarpus Fortunei is probably the most common palm tree grown in the UK and is hardy throughout most of the UK, although it does need a sheltered position as it's not very wind tolerant. Although much rarer, there is also a variegated form. Trachycarpus Wagnerianus is also hardy across most of the UK and has stiffer leaves that are much better at withstanding strong winds. However, it's slower growing and remains more compact. The Trachycarpus Naggy is a cross between Nanus and Wagnerianus, which is believed to have inherited the cold hardy traits of the Wagnerianus, although has not been extensively put to the test. Trachycarpus Princeps has beautiful silvery leaves underneath, and although slightly less hardy than some of the other Trachycarpus varieties, surviving to around -10 degrees, there are hybrids bred to be more cold tolerant. Trachycarpus Ukhrulensis is similar to Princeps, although the leaves are not as pale underneath and frond segments are more numerous. Trachycarpus Latisectus is the least hardy of the Trachycarpus varieties mentioned here, surviving down to only around -7 degrees C, possibly less when young. Finally, at number 1 is Rhopalostylis Sapida, or the needle palm. This small clumping palm can survive temperatures as low as -20 degrees C and is both drought tolerant and can withstand wet soil. It grows in full sun or full shade and is one of the easiest palms to grow. However, it's not widely available in the UK as it's very slow growing and doesn't reach to more than around 1.5 metres tall. It has very sharp spikes at the end of its leaf base. So if you didn't think the UK was warm enough to grow so many varieties of palm trees, hopefully this has given you some ideas of palms that might be suitable where you live. Well, that's all we've got time for today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you next time on Freya's Tropical Garden. If you're enjoying the content of Freya's Tropical Garden, then please help this channel grow by subscribing. Every new subscriber is appreciated. And by turning on notifications to my videos, you can also make sure that you don't miss any episodes in future. You can also follow me on social media, where I'll release links to my latest videos, as well as share my flower of the day. You can follow me on X, Instagram, Threads, Facebook, or join my Facebook group to engage in discussions and share your own photos. Freya's Tropical Garden webpage also has links to my videos and helpful advice. And now, in order to support the continued growth of this channel, there is an option of becoming a member, which will give you access to a private Facebook group where I'll be running monthly competitions exclusively for members, as well as additional exclusive content. And as always, I welcome your feedback in the comments below.